All right. So Chris Kurth wanted to threaten me again. Now, why would he do that? Oh yeah, because he got away with it last time. Because despite the fact that I told every officer in fucking town, most of them on video, in front of you guys, and the ones that got to leave, I told them on video too, if they turn their body cameras on, which they're supposed to. Now, where they really screwed up was not making written reports off of 911 calls. That's against the law. Most of the other stuff they could get away with, even though they were committing illegal activities just by lying and manipulating. That's what the blue line is. They don't care what color you are. You go in to turn in a bad officer and you got some fucking problems. You better have a lot of fucking backup. You better have a lot of fucking money. You better have a roof over your head. See, what Zade Atkinson did was basically make himself look as much like a hobo as possible so he could play hippie and try to get laid. Shit, lots of kids do that. And why would looking like a hippie get you laid? Mind you, these aren't hippies, these are homeless people. Big difference. Big difference. There's a lot of people who are really into that lifestyle there. You know, a lot of y'all aren't understanding these aren't choices. For all you guys out there who are like, hey, you know, it's a choice. You know, I thought about going homeless. No, fuck no. Don't be fucking stupid. Do not throw your rights away like that. If they're taken from you, I understand. Don't give them up like that, though. You got a roof over your head. You have a certain amount of rights. You don't have a roof over your head. You don't even have the right to a fucking blanket when it's fucking blizzarding. So I'm going to give you a link here over on the side. Paste. This right here is a link to Chappell, Nebraska. What's so special about Chappell, Nebraska? Well, they got a long fucking history of racism. This right here, this article is from just a couple of years ago. This isn't from 1978. This isn't from 1963. This isn't from 1959. It says from an attic in Chappell, Ku Klux Klan. Oh, and then it's got Dorwart Law, Life Plan Nebraska, free initial consultation. We used to have a Judge Dorwart here in Nebraska. I wonder if he's still a judge. And who are we going to get a picture of? Whose attic was it in? Well, it was in the county prosecutor's office, and his name is Joel J. The same joke, folks. Here's the thing that is bugging me the most right now. If you look at the numbers, most of the victims of this are not black folks. That's not to say the victims are not being victimized, but I read this thing that's supposed to explain why BLM is so important. And they did this thing where they pretend that someone named Bob represents Black Lives Matter. And they all sit down at the table. Bob says Bob deserves food. And everybody at the table says everybody deserves food and continues eating. I want you to pay attention per capita. Who's eating at that table? There's the homeless. They're not eating. Matter of fact, by comparison, you're probably getting food. The homeless got it bad right now. They always have. But it just keeps getting worse. Every time there's a special rights group out there and people can't take it out on the people they used to. And they go after the homeless because nobody fucking cares. And the homeless don't get a day in court. All you got to do is accuse them and you win. People don't care. It is just assumed that you are guilty. No matter what. Nobody is going to do their fucking job unless you have somebody in your corner. And if you had somebody in your corner, you wouldn't be homeless. I've seen what happens when one person busts their ass to try to get unhomeless. They go into debt. I've seen what happens when two people actually work together to get out of homelessness. And 100% of the time they do. When people are bound and determined to get unhomeless, it takes two of you. When we help women in Boulder to get into housing, we didn't just give money to somebody. This is 7 homeless people who have to earn this money. No, we gave it to very specific people, people who had jobs, who were working, and who could pay their rent. If you could pay your rent and you just needed money to get started so that you could get into the place, yeah, we'll fucking bust our asses. I'm trying to work with all those people to work together to get themselves and myself unhomeless. God, that was like pulling fucking teeth. They're like, oh, you mean I have to do something? Dude, that'll never work. I'm like, dude, it just worked. It just worked. We could get a place and we could help people out. Whereas most of them ended up getting hounded by the police and harassed by the public, and having their heads smacked in with rocks. They just ended up being drinkers and meth addicts. And a lot of people show up out there already with those addictions. People in houses. You kick them out. You don't love your kid anymore, so you send them out to us. And then we try to doctor your kids up and nurse them up and get them back to feeling human again. It's tough to do with the cops doing the shit they do and the public doing the shit they do and the complications that you run into that nobody wants to think about. The thing is that Bob, number one, isn't the only person at the table. Number two, he's not the only one eating. You've got the homeless, you've got Native Americans, you've got battered women, mostly poor people. I mean, if you just say poor people, you basically cover everybody. Cover everybody who's actually getting screwed. Everybody who actually has to worry about a meal on the table, even though they're busting their ass. Have to worry about even having a table or having a roof. And a lot of people that got a hold of me told me, you know, if you were in Africa, if I was in Africa and I were part of a village, I would be allowed to build a house. You're not allowed to build a house like that here in the United States. Are you fucking kidding me? No one stop me. Thing is, without property, anything that I build gets torn down. Anything that I make gets lost or stolen. Anything that I try gets ignored unless it's extreme. Anybody can victimize me at any point in time, and all I can do about it is say, hey, somebody do something about this, please. I've been trying and nobody listens. I'm about tired of Chris Kurth. I don't know if I'm within my legal right to put him in the ground. I do know The killing people is not something that I'm willing to do. I'm trying to fight this war without killing anybody. So far in my life, I have managed to not kill a single person, which is good. There are a lot of situations where, yeah, the person that was doing what they were doing, I probably should have killed. But you know what? When you're a kid, having people do stuff like that to you, you're a kid. You're fucking tiny. And when I say I should, I say that according to public opinion. Because what I should be doing and what I'm willing to do are not the same. We've also gotten to see through all this a lot of the things that I've been talking about for years and years, and it just keeps happening. Now, I want you guys to look back at how many homeless people they've killed and what happens to those homeless people. Why do so many of them disappear for so long after being incarcerated? What Natalie Bollinger did was disgusting, and I should have at some point in time been allowed to face my accusers instead of prevented from doing so. Nobody should have to go through this. Nobody. Now, there are so many dead people over this situation. I am so sick and tired of people treating me like I'm some sort of a terrible person because I'm still speaking out. No, you killed people that I know. You killed people that I care about. And you killed innocent people. You're goddamn right I'm going to speak up. You're going to have to put a bullet in my head to stop me from speaking up. There will never be a day that I don't speak up, ever. Threatening my life ain't good enough. Now, mind you, I'm smaller than Chris Kurth, and I'm smaller than that dude who claims he was a Marine. I don't care if he was a Marine or not. I don't. I have no respect for the modern military. I have no respect for the government that they work for. Train. If you have been a soldier in the United States military since 2001, you are a traitor to the Constitution. If you don't believe me, maybe you should go out and see what it's like to be homeless for a month. Without those resources, without that help, without that car, without that bank account. First time you get arrested, that's the first thing you're going for, isn't it? But you have that access. And when you have that access and you call that number and you get yourself out of there, it doesn't register to you that a homeless person can't do that. They just have to sit there. They just have to take it. The cops know this. They know if they take in a homeless person and they're generating revenue for the jails, generating revenue for the county, generating revenue for the city council, and generating revenue for their department. They're also generating revenue for the public pretenders and generating revenue for judges and district attorneys and a whole bunch of people who just don't give a fuck about you. You got Native Americans sitting at that table too. You got homeless people sitting at that table too. You got battered women and homeless children and foster kids sitting at that table too. Who are you trying to fool? How many of y'all black kids grew up in a system like me? Don't fucking bullshit me on that. Meanwhile, I live in a town full of racist redneck motherfuckers. And there's some good folks here, don't get me wrong. But they're cowards. See, that's the thing about hate. Nothing binds people together like hate. Oh, we hate them Japanese after during World War II, didn't we? They bombed Pearl Harbor. Yes, all that hate brought the whole country together, didn't it? When people stopped hating the Vietnamese, what happened to that war? It fizzled out. And somebody in Virginia said something that very much stuck with me to this day, especially since I've heard so many black and white people say it. You know what? Most of those old racists are at the very end of their lives, and when they die, this is ours. What are you waiting for? Why are you waiting on a whole bunch of people die to do anything? Why would you do that? You shouldn't have to wait till someone is dead to do something. It shouldn't take someone's death for these officials to do their jobs. They shouldn't be able to abuse their power to prevent a person from even being able to go to their own court date. They shouldn't be allowed to abuse their power, prevent somebody from telling on their officers. That blue line of bullshit is complete bullshit. If St. Atkinson didn't have the money for a lawyer, he didn't have a decent start, if he wasn't a college student in Boulder, Colorado, nobody would have given two shits. If he were homeless, which is the part that he looked when he was out there, and all y'all want to say, oh, well, you know, what homeless people don't fucking work. See, he's got that grabber in that bucket. He was cleaning shit up. There are homeless people in Boulder County who have been doing that for decades. So don't give me that bullshit. Those who live in Boulder have seen these homeless people for decades picking up this garbage. And yeah, there's KKK in this town. I've been telling you that for fucking years. Yes, there's KKK in Chappell, Nebraska. There's KKK in Lodgepole. And every small town around here's got people claiming they're KKK. Are they card-carrying members? Probably not. But then again, the KKK around the 1900s was actually a political party. I wouldn't have wanted to join them. Too much hate. But it's hate that sticks people together. Why do they use this warmongering, fire and brimstone technique at the Chapel Assembly of God here? You got to get people to work together, and the best way to do that is to get them to all hate the same person or all hate the same group. You know, this BLM movement is doing a lot more to fan the flames of racism than it is to do anything to stop it. Why do I support it then? Why do I support it despite the fact that I think it's racist? Well, they're just doing it back. I wonder how quick the cops react if a whole bunch of homeless people took some cops, stripped them down to practically nothing like they do to people they take to jail, and then they decide not to book them during a blizzard like Brian Gray, who froze to death. If the homeless people dragged a bunch of cops out and did that to them, how long do you think that stuff would last? If Native Americans took those officers and those FBI agents way out on the reservation and just left them there to die, how many of them do you think come back? The reason that law enforcement is doing this with impunity is because nobody is doing it back. I'm not willing to kill law enforcement. I'm not willing to kill civilians. But they keep trying to make harsher and harsher punishment for killing a police officer, while going more and more lenient on police officers who murder people. You shoot somebody in the back, it's murder, plain and simple. Plain and simple. You want to talk about cowardice? That's shooting somebody in the back. Or going and finding somebody who can't defend themselves and then ganging up on them 2-on-1 like last night. That's not to say I won't. If I have to defend myself, I will. But it has to be a situation where I literally have to defend myself. And that situation out there, you know, the best way for Chris Kurth to try to kill me would be for him to catch me at night on one of my walks out to Chapel Lake. Shit, he could drive by on his motorcycle with a fucking machete. Of course, I'd hear him coming. I pissed off a lot of bikers, and I'm happy about that. There's a lot of them turned into little puddly ones. Showed they can't do nothing on their own. They got to depend on others. And that's the thing, is that I already know I can't depend on anybody but me. I've known that from the start. The problem is, nobody gets out of this shit alone. Some of y'all had terrible boyfriends or girlfriends that beat you or stole your things, or when you broke up, it was terrible and they did all sorts of rotten stuff. But then you look at the fact that while you guys lived together, you got to go do fun stuff. There was 2 of you living together, 2 of you paying the bills, 2 of you paying to go do fun stuff, 2 of you paying for gas, you know? So you're working together. Now with a lot of this, having my disability taken away and having to constantly move from one place to another, to another, to another, nobody should have to go through that. And then there's all the slander that's allowed, but I have posted up, oh my God, so many times, all of this evidence from all of these different people. And the thing is, does any of that get posted up? All of that stuff where